Hello, and welcome to our new show. I'm Sigmund Writer, your host, and I'm aided and abetted by the beautiful and delightful assistant, Foxxe Wilder.
Hello.
And we're going to be helped along by our delectable, delicious bartender, and take a monthly look at the dating and mating habits of the digital world. Now, we will entertain you, we'll inform you, and we hope to educate you on the world out there and in here. We're going to look at how to explore, what's happening, who does what, and why. We're going to teach you how to be safe. We're going to teach you when to be daring and also help you be happy. We're going to look at how to deal with the problems and face up to your fears, perhaps, who knows. Maybe you're all these things, or maybe you're just curious. Maybe you're none of them and looking around, hearing about internet dating, but never trying it. Maybe you're just lonely, you want to be social. We want to cover as much as we can. Now, February is the month of love, and February the 14th, of course, is Valentine's Day, and there's a lot we could cover. But for this program, no Valentine's Day is complete without a fairy tale love and poetry, which we'll bring to you courtesy of Heart of Hartsdale and our fascinating poetess, Morg Macmillan. And to enable those fantasies, perhaps the inimitable Frolic Mills gives us some necessary information, help, advice, and anything else that comes from his fevered brain.
Hello everyone, my name is Frolic Mills. I'm here to talk about the evolution of the penis. This is the sex segment. And Deuce requested that I do a little bit of research on the evolution of the penis, which brought back for me so many memories. I remember on my third day of Second Life, I was DJing at this Latino club, and that's what I used to do for a living back then. And somebody, one of the people that were dancing there at the club asked me if I was a virgin, and well, indeed, confessed that I was a virgin, because I could not afford a penis, and it was a very sad state of affair. I just couldn't buy one. Anyways, this woman was the nicest woman. She did the most beautiful random act of kindness anyone has ever done, which she opened a foundation called the Penis for Frolic Foundation. And, people just came together and collected the 3,000 linens that was needed to buy me a very nice member. And so that happened. And up to this day, I still believe that that was one of the reasons why I stayed in Second Life. And so much has happened since. I still have that penis as a trophy, as I may call it. But Excite, which is the company that has been a penis provider for me for many years, has progressed the penis in so many realistic ways, and it's so amazing now to see a virtual member be so capable of imitating real life. This penis will just bring out so many joyful things for people who are engaged in sexual activity in Second Life. It has great erections, it has great ejaculations. Dusa, honey, anything you want with this penis, it can be possible.
The Frolic, were you surprised to know that you could buy penises in virtual worlds?
Well, indeed, Dusa, I couldn't understand when you first log into Second Life, and and I'm sure every new user might be surprised that it does give you a choice whether you want a female body or a male body, and I chose a male body, only to be quite surprised that it didn't have, well, probably the most important part that separates men from women, you see. And so this was the shock for me. It's like, okay, so where is my thing? And, I kept pushing all the control buttons to change my shape, trying to, develop somewhat of a penis, but that didn't happen. So, of course, at first, one goes into, discos and sex places, and then we tend to discover that there are penises that are around that are free. But Dusa, oh my God, the penises that are around, well, first one never really knows where that penis has been because it seems very used, if you know what I mean. And so I was never able to wear any of those. And or they were too little or they were enormous. So I don't know. I was never comfortable with any of those. So and then when I discovered the really nice designer penises, I'm going to call them, well, they were too expensive. I couldn't afford them. So that's when I had to, I had to wait for somebody to do something very, very nice for me to say. I mean, that's the equivalent. Imagine like a girl in real life, who's not successfully with partnerships because she is very flat-chested, and somebody coming and saying, "Oh, let's buy her a pair of boobs." You know what I mean? That's how nice this woman was to me, and I never seen that in real life ever. So I was very happy to do so.
Have you found that people in virtual worlds are helpful to each other when it comes to sexuality or expressing sexuality?
Well, I do so. I think one of the things that people are first curious about in virtual worlds is how to manifest love or sex, and I think it's just as important in real life. I think people experiment so much with their sexualities in the virtual worlds, just as much as they might in the real world, and sometimes it manifests in love forms, or sometimes it just stays as a sexual conduct of whatever kind. But yeah, I think people tend to lead others to discover this part of their beingness in the virtual world, and I think that's probably one of the first things they become aware of when they enter Second Life.
Do you think that there's a predatory element to any of this? I mean, how do people protect themselves or become aware of that?
Well, I think common sense is obviously a good thing, and I was one of the things that the Miss Virtual World organization worked very, very hard last year was orienting kids, the teens when they made the crossover to the adult grid. Yes, things are now separated. You have the PG Sims, the adult and the mature, and so everything is nice and separated, which is a good thing. But I remember I can't remember his name. One of the Lindens requested that me and Serene Faith give a talk about sexuality to the teens and how to protect themselves. And I don't think in a virtual world it's not really hard to protect yourself. I mean, all you have to do is hit the home button or turn off your computer and you're protected. So to me, it's more of a common sense how you're going to deal with your life, what you're going to do with it. I mean, some people may not even want the protection. Some people may actually want to experiment all of this, Dusa. And I don't, somebody who doesn't want to become involved, well, doesn't, you see. All they have to do is not go to these spaces. And I think it's a choice that everybody has the right to do. I mean, I don't know that the teens are not experimenting with these things, but if they do, I think it's very much so their desire to do so, because nobody is forcing. You cannot force sex to an avatar. You understand? You have to be willing to do it. So, I think protection only comes if you want it, and it's very easy to keep yourself protected. Absolutely.
Now, in the particular virtual world Second Life in which we are filming right now, they have done a separate, what they call continent, for the adult entertainment side of the internet, if you like, of virtual worlds. And when I first came into Second Life, actually you could access that wherever you were. To some extent, you'd turn a corner and there'd be a naked bottom, or there'd be things for sale or whatever. This separation, effectively, we know why it is done from a business point of view, and to separate effectively business from adult business, if you like. However, it seems to me to have denuded the land mass of some kind of energy, and now you have to go to a specific point in which to access that, and I find myself not doing that particularly. Do you think it's a good thing to separate, say, adult material from mature material?
Well, I interviewed Philip Lind in 2009, just when this was happening, and I asked him about this. I said, listen, Phil, do you feel like this separation between adult and PG material is justifiable censorship? And he said, well, Frolic, we're not really censoring any kind of content. We just have to provide a way to separate them so not to alienate certain users, which I understand, Dusa. It's like, it's just not a good thing if you're going to have teens on the grid to have adult content available to them. So, and that's what I mean, Dusa. Everything in Second Life, it's organized in a way that you can experiment anything you want or not, you see. And I understand what you're saying. It's like, unless we make an effort to go to the adult grid, we won't come across those things. Well, but then again, imagine you are walking, say, with your real life daughter or son, Dusa, around Second Life, and you're in a nice mall or a beach or playing a game, and then all of a sudden you have a penis or a vagina. You know what I mean? I think you may find it if you were in that position, or if you had, a teenager in Second Life playing, that this is probably a good idea. I mean, at first, yeah, everybody had some kind of pet peeve about it, but at the end, you know what? I think it was the right thing, if I'm honest with you. Yeah.
Okay, from a family point of view.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the idea is that everyone can play in Second Life right now, and they can do it safe. It's their choice. So yeah, it had to be divided. Yeah, from an adult point of view, maybe that wasn't the best thing. But if we're gonna have teens and adults and thing, then what can you do? I think it's something that had to be done. Yeah.
Okay, Frolic, I'm going to ask you one last question, and it's really about, say you're a new boy in town in a virtual world, and you see a female avatar walking past, and you really want to say hello or contact that female avatar. How do you go about it? Or male avatar, or in fact any of the numerous kind of shapes and sizes of avatars that we have in here, because it's not gender based particularly. So how do you go about contacting another avatar and saying, I quite like the look of you?
Well, Dusa, I have never been attracted to avatars, if I'm honest with you. Neither female nor male nor a chicken nor a fox. It's something that I've never been sexually attracted to. So if I become interested in a certain person that I've met in the virtual world, it would be because of the personality behind the avatar. I've never had the impulse to say, oh, look at you, sexy avatar. You know what? It has not been my thing ever. But I've met so many people, and then when I discover the real person behind the avatar, yes, I've had lots of attractions, and then of course I would throw, my Casanova game on them. But it's always the person that attracts me, never the avatar. So I may be the wrong person to ask that question to. But I know Dusa. But I'm not unaware of the fact that I have been hit on many times. But maybe I'm not a good example because a lot of people know me, and they've seen me on Metaverse D, and they know quite a lot about me. So, but I know that, for example, some people go to a shop, whomever, and they get an AM going, oh, you're so hot, baby, let's have sex, and but it always surprises me a little bit that people would do that. I have a friend who was just offered 5,000 lindens to have sex with this new person who has been around, who was 2 days old, and Yeah, he was offering sex to a friend of mine, and then she said no thanks, and she said, well, I'll give you 10,000 lindens if you have sex with me. And I'm like, oh my God, accept it, woman. You know. Anyway, but yeah, it happens, and I suppose it's up to everyone to decide what to do in that moment, you know.
Okay, well, I think this is really fascinating and we could go on, but actually you're going to have to wait till next month for this installment, I think. Do you want to say a few words goodbye, Frolic?
Absolutely. Listen, sexuality in virtual worlds is just the same as in the real world. People are curious about it. It brings a lot of emotions about it. People have fun with it. Just keep it safe. Have fun, but you know, feel free to also make it your world, your imagination, and develop beautiful relationships. Maybe. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Dusa.
Well, after watching that for a few minutes, Foxy, it strikes me that for quite a few of the women in Second Life, too big certainly isn't too much, because some of the ladies in there were very well endowed. What did you think?
Yeah, it's all in the eye of the beholder. Every woman has her different tastes. I like quality more than quantity, but sometimes you do get lucky and get the two of them hand in hand, so to speak.
And I'm also fascinated, I think, by the concept of love everlasting within Second Life, because I don't know about you, but knowing the people I've known for the many years I've been here, everlasting doesn't seem to be more than a couple of months on average. People seem to partner up from a month or two, or maybe even a couple of weeks, and then that's it. What about the folks you know, Foxy?
A couple of minutes, anyways. Everlasting, I don't know about that. I've had relationships lasting as far as 4 or 5 months, but I'm not really one to date intensively.
Which
sort of
makes
free spirit.
Yeah, it sometimes makes me think that, when people join things like the Gorian Sims, well, the reason they can do that is because there's some stability there, and we're going to take a look at some material here. We're going to take a look at gore, we're going to take a look at some people, and we're going to see what actually happens in the Gorian worlds.
Across the vastness of space, on the far side of the solar system, hidden from our view by the glare of the sun, lies the alternate Earth. The planet Gore. A wild and beautiful world with soaring high mountaintops, impenetrable forests, vast oceans and lakes, where savage beasts feed on human flesh, bejeweled with hundreds of cities, where heroes lead their warriors into battle for loot, for slaves, for glory, and the honor of their magnificent cities. Gore harkens back to a bygone era where men were men and women knew their place. Drawing from the Gore novels by John Norman, role-players in Second Life act out one of the castes in Gorian society, the free men and women, scribes, physicians, priests, warriors, and of course their slaves. The unique relationship between free persons and slaves seems strange or even alarming through modern eyes, and yet master and slave find satisfaction in this relationship, which to them seems normal, given their Gorian code of conduct.
I'm one of the more gentle people, but if I do have to say, like, punish a slave, sometimes I do kind of question, is this going too far? There is a standard set for what people expect of you, of what's expected. It's much like the real world. There's not really any written rules, but there's rules that people expect you to abide without telling you. Like, there's standards.
There's a lot of appeal to be a slave. There's the excitement of different roleplay that you receive from people. It's a challenging role. It's like completely different to anything in real life. It's taken me a very long time to get used to the roleplay of being a slave. I guess in some ways women are submissive to a point. I mean, in a relationship, usually that I would prefer my husband to make any decisions that were made. I love the RP of having a very dominant master. it's, I guess, what keeps you being a slave. Is the need to have that, the trust to give someone that power to have total control over you.
As with the original Gore novels, romantic love is never far away. Gorians in Second Life marry, have love affairs, and sometimes this spills over into the players' real lives. But Gore is not only about warfare and slaves and love. Canadian Aidan Shin is the creator of one of the largest Gorian groups. He says roleplay in Gorian SL fulfills a need that many people find is not met in their modern life.
Sometimes it's as easy as being appreciated for what you do. I think a lot of times in life we go through doing things which we think are necessary and make a difference, but not anybody cares what you do. In Gore, when you're in a family or a group, basically everything that you do is reflected upon that group. So if it's a good thing, 9 chances out of 10 they're going to come to you and say thank you. I think that's missing a lot more in the real world. I think in Gore, you add to it the aspect that you live and die for your home and for your people. I enjoy Gore. I like the way that things pan out in this environment. Second Life has helped me out a lot in real life because I'm in IT, but I'm in the management section of things. And being in the role and position that I'm in as a leader of a very large group of people, I tend to deal with the people in-game the same way that I would deal with those that report to me in real life.
If you're curious to experience life and love in the virtual world of Gore in Second Life, find the Gore Hub or the Gorian Welcome Centre in search.
Well, Steve, thanks for that little clip of video there. I think it gives us a good starting point for what we're going to talk about here. And before I bring in Joanna and Alyssa, I just wanted to ask you, what made you do this video, and what do you think the appeal is of Gore? Why is it that people are so fascinated by it?
Well, I actually looked at this in the first instance because somebody actually handed me a copy of the very, very first Gorian novel written by John Norman. And although I'm no literary critic, I found that the writing style was like chewing rocks, but it was a terrific story. And then when I discovered that there's actually a Gorian world within Second Life, I thought, well, I must go in and have a look. And the more I started, poking around and talking to people, the more fascinated I became. And as I mentioned in that report, the most intriguing aspect of it, of all, is this really bizarre relationship that exists between slaves and masters. I was fascinated why people would choose to be a slave. And having spoken with several of them, and you saw that Australian woman that I interviewed in the report, they find it very liberating. These people are professionals. They're very learned. They're very accomplished in their 21st century lives, and they actually find tremendous satisfaction from letting go of all their own controls and completely surrendering and totally trusting somebody else to take charge. You can't do that in the real world in 21st century Earth, but you can do that in the virtual world of Gore within Second Life.
And I think you commented on, I think, during the film, was that it's very hard to look at Gore objectively because we look at it with 21st century eyes, whereas you've got to look at it with something a bit older. Is that right?
Yes, I think that came to me as a surprise too, that people were not actually looking at it through a real world lens. That there is actually, there was one fellow who was talking about their code of honor, this sort of chivalric code of honor that applies in Gore, very much modeled after the old Viking era, really. And they take this seriously, not written law, but they take it very, very seriously. So it's not a world. It's not a world without rules. It's not a world without standards. People do actually abide by these standards, and for them, that seems normal. That seems acceptable. And what came to me as a surprise is how very readily even I began to enter into that new value set.
Called Wetaverse for a reason, and we are interested in that sexual aspect of it, and there is a high degree, I suspect, of eroticism that goes on within gore. I have to say that any stuff I've read or any pictures I've seen tend to have huge muscly men with rippling, bulging muscles, and the women seem to be wearing little, if anything, apart from a dog collar, and there's a very visual sense of eroticism that wouldn't be out of place in a bondage magazine. So, you know, how strong is that erotic element and sexual element within it? You know, what's actually happening there in terms of those relationships?
Oh, so the people that I've interviewed in getting ready for this, for a lot of the people that I've been speaking with and getting ready for this, that erotic element is essentially right at the core of the whole thing. I mean, there are people who are in there because they want to go what the Goreans refer to as pew-pew, which is, you know, shooting arrows at people and going on raids and stuff. There are others who are really just interested in great stories that they compose and act out themselves. But I think that because sex is essentially at the very heart of the relationship between the master and slave most of the time, I reckon that sex probably stands head and shoulders as probably the biggest pillar of the pillars of gore in Second Life, that is. Not necessarily talking about the books, but certainly within Second Life.
And what about Alyssa or Joanna? What are your thoughts on that? What's the experience of eroticism that you come across within gore?
Well, that's hard to explain. When I joined Ghost Outlaws, I met the father of my role-play children. We have been together for almost 9 months, and he got sick. He got ill in real life, and he vanished more and more. But when I met him, yes, I was attracted to him, and the other way around, of course. And we start building up a storyline. But for me, it's not really the sex. It's more having a storyline. And well, we did, of course, but not the static poses, because I don't like the static poses. I really hate them. And we sit down and we cuddle and we do the role play.
Alyssa, what is it that appeals to you about gore, Alyssa, and why did you start using gore in Second Life in the first place?
I had read the books long ago, and I wasn't even aware in Second Life that there was a gore segment, and I was in another kind of role-play fantasy as a scribe, and it was like super boring, and someone said, my boss in fact said, there's work for scribes in gore. And I said, really? There's gore? And he took me to a city and introduced me to the High Magistrate, and I never looked back. It's addictive. It has its own pull for us. It does. And I think about it. I'm not quite sure what it is, but there's something there that keeps you through and just keeps you going, keeps you coming back.
Saying there that when you went in, you were told there was work for scribes, and as I understand it, it's a very caste-orientated system. Could you tell us just a little bit about how that works? You know, how do you decide what role you want to play, and how rigid are these castes?
The castes are very rigid. It is a caste-structured society within the cities within the mainstream band of gore, in more like the central band of the continent. The civilized cities, it is all about the caste system. Everyone belongs to a caste, and I think that is a great deal of what does appeal to people about gore. Everyone, you are born into your caste. You are raised in your caste, and you live your life in your caste. And so from the very beginning, you have a place in society. No one questions their place in society. And I think that's a great deal of pull these days, where we don't have that really. We don't have that structure, that sense of our place in the greater scheme of things. And I think that's what brings us back.
And I'm not sure whether I heard at the beginning. What caste, what role do you have, Lisa?
I am of the scribe caste, but I am in an appointed position, that of High Magistrate.
Now, what does the High Magistrate do?
Okay, I write the laws, I research and write laws, I uphold laws, I issue warrants, I do hearings, I do investigations, I preside over trials, or we sit down with the other magistrates and we decide who will be advocate, who will be prosecution, who will sit on the bench, that sort of thing, talk to witnesses and so forth.
Okay. Let me just bring Joanna in here as well. Same question to you. What's the appeal and what got you started in gore?
For the simple reason, I got bored in Second Life because by only chatting, and I started to look at gore sims, and just like Steve, I visited some places and sims, and I ended up in Shiba. And Shiba is in the middle of the south and the north, and from the gore map, and it's merely by the book, but it's also gore involved. And I've been there, I learned there, and I learned role play. I didn't read one book of John Norman because we don't have them in the Netherlands, and they are not for sale. And so, I observed the first 6 months in Shiba. Then I left Shiba and I started to join the Black Talents, gore involved too, and they are from the Northern Divide. And I went there with my free companion, and that was my they don't have a husband, they don't have a marriage in gore, but they have a free companion, and it's an agreement of 1 year. Gore involved has not caste. They don't have that. They don't know it because they are gore involved. And they are gore involved. Most of them are outlaw bands or mercenaries and pirates or wagon people. So I left the Black Talents, and I left my free companion behind, and I joined the Ghost Outlaw band, and I started to roleplay, and I started to build up storylines, and that's how I came addicted to it, because I love it, and gore involved. The free women are able to hand a bow, and they are able to fight.
I'm a vet, and I have PTSD.
Okay.
For me to roleplay in gore takes enormous personal, emotional resources. I have to brace myself to play in gore, and I have to work around what happens if there's a raid, and whoa, my anxiety goes zoom off the chart, okay? But I'm playing a free woman. I can be captured. All kinds of horrible things can happen to me, and I know it. I've been captured once in 2.5 years. You work around it. You find ways, without cheating,
Yeah.
you find ways, how am I going to deal with this in gore? And I'm paranoid. My character is paranoid because she doesn't want to be captured, and that's my role play. And I actually role play that in order to handle my real life issues around being captured.
Yeah, I don't like to be captured. So I talk my way out, and they don't take me. When I bind, and they want to drag me, I talk my way out, and they leave me, and they drop the leash, and they leave me behind. And I say, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Home sweet home.
What I'm curious there is that you get captured and you feel the reality of being captured and trapped.
Oh yes.
But then when you escape, you feel the pleasure of that. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exciting.
It's not so much pleasure; it's absolute relief.
Yes, because you need to do you need to emote when you want to escape. When you're caged, you need to type 3 lines, the maximum of 10 words each line. You need to type it, and then you need to lockpick the cages.
And then the ladies said they were taking bets in the cafe how long it would be before Elisa killed the slave, and how long he would last, and oh my God, there were bets being taken, and I'm like, I don't want a slave, and I'm jumping up and down and stomping my foot, and Ubar is saying, I'm Ubar, and I'm giving you this slave, and you're going to take him. I'm like, oh, well, not. What am I going to do with the slave? I got this apartment. Where am I going to put the guy? It was great. And now I'm stuck with this slave.
But what do you,
He's cute, really.
Give us a sneak preview. What are you going to do with your slave?
Okay, actually, literally, cuddles. I live for cuddles. I love for cuddles. I'm like, yes, I got somebody I can make cuddle me. Okay. There's actually a lot to be said for those quiet times, sitting in front of the fireplace, cuddling up, and talking about what happened that day. Okay, yes, he's going to serve and do all the normal slave stuff. We are not having sex because I don't fur kajuros. Okay, I'm a very proper free woman, and that's actually by the book the women did, but that I don't. So, but just to have somebody there to talk to, and that's what he's going to be, as long as he stays.
And again, I'm being curious here. When you're having the cuddles and the conversations, is that within character, out of character, or a mix of both? How does that work?
A mix,
Okay.
yeah. And it would depend a lot on the situation, the role play too. It could be totally role play, it could be just shutting the world out and, oh my God, let's get out of here and go sit and cuddle and just talk and come down, because role play can be incredibly stressful.
In terms of male versus female slaves, I'm guessing that there are more female than male, but do you know whether that's true or not?
Well, yeah, it's overwhelmingly female. There are male slaves, and there's more than just a few, but it's overwhelmingly female, yeah.
And of those female slaves, how many do you think are actually women and how many are actually men?
I don't know, I don't care.
That was my next question. Does it matter? But this always fascinates me.
Right. In my opinion only, no one has the right to misrepresent themselves as a different sex and have sex with someone who is averse to having sex of that sex. I mean, male playing a female, tell somebody, I'm a female real life if you're a guy, or paying a guy. Don't just, that's just like wrong. This is wrong. That's all. I don't have like ambivalent feelings about this, right?
No, that's okay. We're quite happy when people are not ambivalent. That's fine. What I want to do here as well is I want to bring in my friend and esteemed colleague, Foxxe Wilder, who has been sitting by the bar all this time and listening to the discussion. And I don't know whether Foxxe has actually been into gore or what her notions and ideas are. So I'm going to ask Foxxe to maybe come in and give some final thoughts on what she's been hearing here.
No,
There we go. I can hear you distantly.
Well, I'm way over at the bar here. I mean, what do you expect? No, I've never actually been involved in gore, although in my 5 years in Second Life, I have heard quite a bit of my friends that have been. I have mixed feelings, naturally, being a black woman, but, each to their own. Everybody's got their fantasies. Personally, given the idea of getting tired of a male slave, well, if you really get too tired of him, he goes into the fireplace, sort of thing. but I really don't mix and mingle too much in that atmosphere. Although after today's show,
On location trip to Gore and see how you get on with being a slave. Is that right?
me as a slave, I'm more of the dominant type. To say the least, I've got a rather notorious reputation as such, and I don't think I would, like Elisa there, I don't think I could really shake that off too easy. Like, me submissive, that's sort of like asking a Rottweiler to be a lap dog, you know? I'm more likely to bite than purr.
Well, you would be good for a kennel mistress.
A kennel mistress.
Yes. Kennel mistress is handling the slaves, and they teach the mistress are teaching the slaves and how to serve, how to please, and go on, So yeah, and it will be happen with a whip sometimes or torture. So that's why I'm telling you.
Let me come back in there because that piqued my curiosity once more. So you have people who teach the slaves how to be slaves, and that includes torture and whipping. Is that right?
Yes, because serving is when you want to be a good slave. Yes, it's a lot of practicing. It's not just serving a drink or a fruit bowl or a cheese of plate with bread. No, it has to be emoted, and it has to be role played. And there is a southern way of role play and serving, and there is a northern way of serving. Right, Eliza? In the south, they need to wear silks. So that's why you see them wearing silks. And in the north they have bonds, and they can wear a little bit more, and that's a different story. But yes, there are kennel mistresses, and they will be taught how to serve. And it's a long study.
It is a very long process because they don't only get taught how to serve, they get taught gore. They get taught history, geography, they get taught, the mountains, rivers, and streams, all of the plants, all the animals, and all the fishes. They're tested on these things. They have to learn the caste structure. They get full education in gore, slaves do. It is a lot of education, and it's a lot of work to be a slave. A lot of work.
Good Lord.
So, well, this has been an exciting and a fascinating topic, and I'm sure we're going to come back to this again. But I just want to, at this point, say thank you to our guests, Joanna Haystack and Alyssa Swansong, for coming along and explaining all this to us. But thank you both for spending so much time with us. Hopefully we'll get to see you again on another show.
Thank you for inviting us.
Sure will. Yeah, thank you for having us.
Well, I don't know about anybody else, but I think I learned a lot more about gore during that session with our guests than I have in a long time. If you have any comments, any observations, or even any questions, feel free to get in touch with us here at Wetaverse, and we'd love to hear your comments. So let's slow down just a little here, and we're going to go to a section on poetry. And we've got a poet, Maud Macmillan, who's got something entitled Mantis, which is incredibly intriguing. And let's take a listen and see what you think.
Dream of all dreams, while you're asleep. Oh, what can ail you, knight at arms? She'll dance her dance with 7 veils. You'll feel enchanted by her charms. From time to time, a skin-deep sight will make you gasp and ask for more. Then eyes meet eyes. She deigns a smile. Defenses crumbling to the floor. Now fast, so fast, feet and hair fling. Your heart's allegro is the drum. Around, around, while speeding up your courtship dance, you buzz and hum. You pray for prey. She did before. Whether bliss or curse, no matter. You mount, dismount, and she will eat your head from a silver platter.
And all we can say at this point is beware the Ides of March, because we'll be coming back around the 15th of the month. And all that remains is for me and Foxxe to wish you a happy or a dark Valentine's Day. Foxxe?
Yes. Or you could say, beware the eyes of March.
Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you all next month. Goodbye.
Goodbye.